When most people imagine revitalizing their lives, they often think of starting fresh new habits, new routines, new goals. But here's the truth. You cannot step into a renewed journey while still carrying the invisible chains of the past. It is like trying to sail forward while an anchor drags beneath you. No matter how hard you push, the weight keeps pulling you back. That anchor is made up of limiting patterns, those repetitive cycles of thought, behavior, and belief that quietly sabotage your progress without you even realizing it. These patterns come in many forms. For some, it is the voice of self-doubt that whispers, "You're not good enough." For others, it is the tendency to procrastinate, avoid risk, or cling to comfort zones even when those zones are suffocating. Some people are caught in relationships or environments that drain their energy, but they remain because the pattern feels familiar. And perhaps the most dangerous of all is the inner story that says, "This is just who I am, and nothing can change it." That story is not truth, it's conditioning. And until you recognize it for what it is, it will continue to write the chapters of your life without your permission. Breaking free begins with awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to see. Think of patterns as grooves carved into your mind over years of repetition. Every time you think the same thought, respond the same way, or indulge the same habit, the groove deepens. Soon it becomes automatic, almost unconscious. This is why so many people feel stuck. They're not fighting the world, they're fighting their own conditioning. And the first step to liberation is simply shining a light on it. Ask yourself, what cycles keep repeating in my life? Why do I always end up in the same situations, even when I promise myself it will be different next time? That honest reflection is the beginning of freedom. But awareness alone is not enough. If you see the pattern but keep feeding it, it will remain. The real shift happens when you disrupt it. Sometimes disruption means changing your environment, choosing different people, different spaces, different inputs that no longer reinforce the old groove. Other times it means interrupting the story you tell yourself. The moment the old thought arises, "I can't do this, I always fail, it's too late," you pause and challenge it. You replace it not with empty affirmations, but with a conscious choice. This is an old story, and I am no longer its character. The more you practice, the more the groove begins to fade and new patterns start to form. Of course, breaking free is uncomfortable. Patterns, even destructive ones, provide a strange sense of safety. They are predictable, and the human mind craves predictability. Stepping out of them feels like stepping into uncertainty, and uncertainty can trigger fear. But here's the paradox. The very discomfort you fear is the gateway to renewal. Growth never happens in the comfort of old cycles. It happens when you dare to step into the unknown, trusting that the unknown holds more life than the familiar cage you've been living in. Consider how many lives remain unlived because people cling to the known pain rather than risk the unknown possibility. They stay in jobs that drain them, relationships that stunt them, habits that weaken them, simply because breaking free feels too risky. But revitalization demands courage. It demands that you decide the old way is no longer acceptable, and that your future deserves a different foundation. And once you make that decision, once you stop negotiating with the past, you discover an energy you didn't know you had. You begin to feel lighter, as if the anchor has been lifted, and suddenly forward momentum is possible. And here's the most empowering truth. Patterns are not destiny, they are simply repeated choices, often unconscious, but still choices. And the moment you choose differently, even in a small way, you begin rewriting the script of your life. One new choice today becomes the seed of a new pattern tomorrow. Over time, those seeds grow into habits, and those habits shape a completely different reality. That is how transformation truly happens, not in one dramatic leap, but in the quiet power of consistent disruption and renewal. So, breaking free is not just about rejecting what doesn't serve you as about making space for what will. Once the old patterns lose their hold, you create room for creativity, vitality, and purpose to flow in. Life begins to feel expansive rather than restrictive. And you realize something profound. The cage was never locked. It was only your familiarity with it that kept you inside. If you want to revitalize your life journey, you must be willing to dismantle the cycles that no longer serve you. This is not an easy path, but it is the most liberating one. Because once you break free, you will look back and wonder how you ever lived within such narrow walls. The chains are invisible, but the key has always been in your hand. Use it and step into the freedom that awaits.